Very good evening, all my dear friends. So today we have another special candidate with us, and she is also a motivation for many of the aspirants who will be running in their age of 29 for this year and do or die situation. And for this do and die situation, Anshumala is a great example for all of you. She has made it to her last attempt, and वो दे रही थी एग्जामिनेशन बट समथिंग कुछ परफेक्शन की वजह से क्लिक नहीं कर रहा था बट अल्टीमेटली शी cracked this year's examination in Nabard 2022 and she is into the select list. So my 30th congratulations, Anshu, for your this grand success.
Thank you, sir, for this very kind introduction.
Okay. So Anshu, if you can explain about your attempt in Nabard, how it was, means आपने कितने attempts दिए और ये आपका last attempt था. ये मेरे ध्यान में भी बहुत ज्यादा था. It was running in my knowledge also कि आपको इस साल क्वालिफाई करना ही है. एंड जब मैंने आपका रोल नंबर डाल के, क्योंकि आपका रोल नंबर मेरे पास था, तो आप शायद कॉलेज में थी उस टाइम जब रिजल्ट आया था, तो उससे पहले मैंने आपका देख लिया था कि क्या रिजल्ट है. देन आई स्टार्टेड कॉलिंग यू एंड what was that moment? I can tell you it was a relief for me as well as a mentor that yes, you made into the list. Last attempt था आपका, बहुत खुशी हुई मुझे जान के. तो आप थोड़ा सा अपने अटेम्प्ट के बारे में बताएं. पिछला अटेम्प्ट दिया फिर ये अटेम्प्ट दिया, दोनों में क्या डिफरेंसेस थे? What you made it this time?
Sir, first of all, thank you for calling me and remembering me, because I'll also never forget the moment when you called me and when you told me about my result. So that will always stay in my mind forever. I have given several attempts of Nabard grade A. One time I cleared prelims and I reached up to that stage only. After that, in the second attempt, I got to know about Clarity Coaching and I came in touch with you. That time I reached till the wait list. And sir, in this, I missed by a few marks only. And this time, sir, I converted thanks to your guidance and blessings. So, sir, this was my journey.
Okay, good. So one more myth is also that people with the UPSC background only qualifies the final examination because they have good grip over writing skills and all. So did you have the UPSC experience of writing UPSC exams and all?
No, sir.
What's your take on this?
I'm sorry. So UPSC, I've never taken UPSC, never gave the exam. I have done MBA actually, and after that I have also worked for a year and a half. Right now, I am pursuing development studies from Tata Institute of Social Science. So my field was mostly in economics and finance. I wanted to get into Nabard. I attempted RBI once, but after reflection, I came to know that Nabard was most suitable to my taste of work life, which I wanted to have. I wanted to work in social sector only, mostly.
Right.
So, sir, I think
this is also a clear message, right?
Yes, sir.
And from your side, that it's not necessary to have some UPSC background to crack this examination. If you have motivation, if you have intent, if you're following the right things in right direction, definitely it will convert one day. Not this year, next year, it may definitely convert, right?
Yes, sir. Completely, sir. Background is not a restriction of any.
Restriction, right? So let us know something, because aspirants appearing this year will be more interested about the strategy, both for the prelims and the mains. So what was the strategy in prelims? If you can bifurcate into merit and non-merit section, what you did, so if you can explain.
So sir, there are 8 sections. 6 of them are non-merit qualifying sections, including English, Quant, LR, which is common for all banking examinations. And then you have computer, decision making, and GA. GA is also, I think it's qualifying, right?
It's merit.
GA, ESI, and ARD are qualifying, and remaining 5 sections are qualifying. The remaining 3.
These are merit, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Merit sections. So, sir, the non-merit sections, the qualifying ones, I had prepared notes on each and every topic with important examples and formulae. For English, I had the common errors which we make. So I had those notes with me, and I used to go through them 15 days before the examination. And the papers that I used to solve were of the level of IBPS PO level, because I think that Nabard doesn't cross that level at all. And the qualifying marks are very less. So one need not to solve all the 40 questions of English, all the 30-40 questions of English. You have to make sure that in the time limit, you are attempting 15 to 20 questions and it's enough. Similarly for LR and Quant, you have to choose the areas which you are strong in and attempt those areas and ensure that you are meeting the qualifying marks, which is 3-4 marks in which ways. So if you
So
are
how you prepared? Yeah, how you prepared for the merit sections? Basically, those who are not from this field, उनके लिए ये nightmare रहता है this field of your agriculture and ESI also for those aspirants who do not have some UPSC background. How do you tackle these two sections? In spite having a busy schedule in doing your developmental studies in test, how you managed all the things?
So, sir, time management was one very critical aspect in my preparation. The material of agriculture, I completely relied on the materials provided by you, the master notes and the prelims power play test. And I used to revise those questions and the material again and again. And if there were certain areas which I thought were more important, for example, there are topics like animal husbandry, fisheries, horticulture, and there are certain chapters which are very important, which you also highlight in your sessions. So in those areas, I used to Google new things also. What are the new upcoming things, current affairs? But that also used to cover any which ways, power plays. So for agriculture, that was it. For GA, I read a newspaper and I also went for Affairs Cloud current affairs because they give daily
Right.
capsule and that helps a lot. If you go through it, it takes 15 minutes, not more than that. And if you revise it at the end of a week, you can memorize it. And then when after doing that, if one solves your power plays, that also gives a lot of background information. I also used to make my notes on your questions and do value addition on what questions you used to add. So that was there. For ESI also, sir, I think newspaper, following GA regularly, and your material was enough, sir.
Right, right. So you have to create a balance between your knowledge also and what things you are reading from different sources. That also matters a lot, right? So this way you prepared for your prelims. So how did you tackle mains this time? Just you started after prelims, or you waited for the main prelims result for that?
Sir, I started preparing after prelims only because this was my last attempt, and I already knew the level of competition because I was waitlisted last time by very few marks. So I did not want to waste time. So I started preparation for objective, and for descriptive. What great initiative was done by you was that the syllabus was divided into various topics, and for each topic you used to give 3 to 4 questions within stipulated time, which we had to solve in stimulated environment. So I started doing that as soon as you uploaded. I started doing that, and since I like to write, but my problem was that I take time to write. I try to find the best words and make it beautiful. So for me, the biggest issue was to make it concise and make it precise and yet cover multidimensional aspects. So for me, that used to be the biggest issue. And practicing in stimulated environment helped me a lot.
Okay. Another aspect is the English section, which I think is quite uncertain in this IBPS based examination. 1 year you can be hero, next year you can be zero. You cannot know that how they award the marks and all, right? So any 2-3 things would you like to suggest to the aspirants what they should do, especially in English subjective section of mains?
So the first thing is you must know the format of various topics that they ask you to write. So there is essay, there is report, there is letter. So all those things format you need to be aware of and then practice it, because once you are in the examination hall, the pressure is a lot. You can hear the sound of typing, and that time half of your mind is empty. So until unless you practice, you cannot actually score there. And your performance, I personally feel your performance is 75% of what you do at your home. when you are practicing, because there is a stress. It's a day which will make you or break your career. So, and everybody around you is writing, there are examiners and all. So you should always prepare to that level that in the examination, even if you give 70-80% of that, you are able to clear it. And another thing,
Right.
apart from the format, sir, I would say that you also need to be creative in the lines which you are using for introduction and conclusion. It should be unique, because if everybody will write the same marks, then everybody will also get the same marks. So one need to be creative in their own approach of how to handle that.
So this देख लेंगे वाला attitude will not work for English.
No,
कि
sir.
मुझे तो आता है English. देख लेंगे लिख लेंगे. That should not work. You have to do some practice for the English.
Yes, sir.
तभी आप gain कर सकते हो marks. That is very important message. That even though you know English, even though you are very good in English, but what it requires in this IBPS based examination is constant practice. At least 5-6 tests आपको लिखना ही चाहिए in English. ठीक है? That helps you a lot. And regarding this word limit, बहुत से questions रहते हैं, queries रहते हैं. आपने 2 बार mains लिखा है. What's your take on the word limit that they ask? Because that is huge. That cannot be met. So, have you written 80%, 90%? What was your take in the word limited exam?
Sir, I think in the English section, they are basically checking. I personally feel they basically check your grammar and if you are sticking to the word limit or not. So I think in the English section, you should anyhow stick to the word limit. You should not exceed or decrease, exceed it or decrease it by a huge margin. That is a very important part. In the descriptive, I think they are looking at the content more rather than grammar or spelling, because it's an analytical section. So there, even if you exceed by 50-70 words, if you're writing in a flow, it does not matter. Even if you reduce it by about 100 words also, I don't think it matters, as long as it's presented in a point wise manner and it's relevant. I used to include local examples from my state or some current happening. So in every topic, I used to end it with an example. And there used to be proper introduction and conclusion like you had given us. So even during the practice questions which you had given, I used to practice writing the entire thing. And I think I had practiced about writing 100 questions also before taking the mains exam.
Good. So, had you left any question or you attempted all the questions?
Sir, I attempted all the questions. There was one 15-mark question on fishery and a particular scheme of fishery, which I was not, yes, sir, Matsya Sampada Yojana, which I was not completely, I wasn't aware about it comprehensively. But even at that time, I tried to keep my cool. I wrote only the relevant points. I think I would not have met the word limit. It was 100 words less only, but whatever I had written, sir, it was relevant. So that was there. And all the remaining 3 questions, I think, sir, I met the word limit and I gave my best. I do not think there was a huge scope of correcting anything there.
What difference you felt, Anshu, last time interview and this time interview, though the panel was same? Any differences you felt in last time's interview and this time's interview?
Sir, I think this interview, in fact, I was a little more nervous. I was also caught by surprise because I think it was my last attempt. So when I was in the actual hall, I felt I was a little more nervous than previous time. But I had prepared more. Firstly, sir, I think there also a greater emphasis is on your personality rather than on your knowledge. I think they are seeing if the person has a wholesome perspective on different things, can take into account pros, cons, the multi-dimensional aspect of everything. So I think it's very important to be calm there, to present who you are actually honestly. And they asked me about a lot of things. They asked me about my gap years, about my job experience, why I left. So those were personality-based questions. Then I'm working on a thesis. They asked about that, the findings, what I have done. Asked about development functions, why I want to work in development sector, in which particular areas. Then they asked about financial functions. And in the financial function, they went on grilling me again and again to a point where I reached where I could not answer and I was confused. And I said that I have not read that much about it. And then they even took the time to explain me that that's okay. And they even explained me what they were looking for in the answer. And I admitted it. And I said that I was not aware and I will definitely go and I'll read about it. And yes, sir, I was just honest there. And this
Right.
time, because I had 1 year, I had worked in areas where Nabard works. So I had done some certification in rural banking and all of that. So I had taken the time to prepare my detailed application form in a way which matched in the area in which Nabard is working, so that they
Right.
can also be signaled about my seriousness for the
Mhm.
post.
Okay, Anshu, last question to you. Any two, three suggestions would you like to give to this year aspirant, especially those who have given their 2 attempts, 3 attempts, and they, due to some reasons, 1 marks, 0.25, they have missed out, and maybe their last or second last attempt, they are demotivated this time. Many such aspirants are there.
Yes, sir.
Any two, three message would you like to give to them, such candidates?
Sir, first of all, I would say that uh, as much as we reflect on our preparation, we should also reflect on our own personality and strength and weaknesses. For example, like I said, that writing long answers was not a difficulty for me, but keeping it to a word limit, attempting all the question, managing time was a bigger challenge for me. So that so then my preparation has to be done differently. And memorizing agriculture related data numbers was again a little more challenging to me. So I created my own system for that. I started doing color coding. I revised the numbers more. I restricted the numbers which I am quoting or remembering to a minimum, because I knew that I will always make mistakes there. So other areas I focused on. So that is one thing. And the second thing I would say that mental health is also very important, especially when it is your last attempt and you're missing by 1 mark or 0.5 mark. Sadly, we live in a society which is very outcome oriented and preparation is not given its due, knowledge
Right.
is not given its due. And only when you become successful, the rest of the world acknowledges you. But I
Right.
think that rather than depending on external validation, we should self-evaluate ourselves, how much we have learned and progressed, and hard work will always benefit us in one way or
Yeah.
another. Yes, sir. And I also used to, one thing I would like to add, that I also used to practice for interview with two of my friends, Rohit and Nikhil, and they are from very different backgrounds. They are freshers, they are engineers, but we used to share our problems of being an aspirant, and it was a very positive environment. We used to learn also together.
Right.
So one can form a group like that, and that can balance uh, other thoughts, negative thoughts which come in your mind.
Right. Right. So it was nice talking to you, Anshu. And once again, congratulations from my side and my best wishes to you for all your future endeavors. And may your this knowledge with developmental studies in one of the reputed institutes of India, DISS, definitely helps in agriculture and rural development through Nabard.
Thank you, sir. And I would also like to take this time to extend my greatest uh, thank you to you, because I could completely rely on your pedagogical method and whatever advice you used to give me on phone. So I have never met you. There is no personal connection as such. But I think as a teacher, as a mentor, you gave me everything that I expected, and you pushed me also harder. And I also abided by everything which you said. That really helped me. And I'm always going to take your blessings in whatever I do in my life. So thank you a lot, sir.
Definitely. Definitely, Anshu. Chalo, let's close this meeting. Chalo, bye bye. Take care.
Thank you, sir.